All we need is a little understanding. Walk a mile in their shoes. And if we keep our hearts open-minded, we'll enjoy this wild ride called life. And if we keep our hearts open-minded, we'll enjoy this wild ride called life.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the True Sweet Hide podcast. Today's guest is Justin Szerletich. Did I get that?
Justin Szerletich. But it's totally fine. Nobody gets it right the first time.
I practiced this a couple times, you guys, so this is just bad. But I appreciate your understanding. So I'm excited because we've been trying to get Justin on for a few times now, and we finally got it down. So he is a U.S. Marine Corps infantry veteran. So I can't wait for you to talk about that. And reading his bio, you guys, when I post this in the show notes, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, he's done so much. And he has experience in all social media channels, radio, podcast, film, television. He has his own business. He's also had clients from ESPN Radio to Biz Talk Radio and Knucklehead Media Group. So, Justin, thank you so much for being on here. I'm super excited. I can't wait for you to share everything you're doing and to talk a little bit about your wife who's Peruvian. So I'm super excited.
Yes, we have that connection that, there's not many Peruvians running around these parts. So when I find another one, it's amazing. I love it.
Yay. So tell us a little bit real quick about your time as a Marine Corps infantry team leader.
Yeah. So, I joined the Marine Corps. Well, okay. So, you go to high school, you do the whole high school and education bit. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I grew up always wanting to be an Army man, right? Every kid wants to be an astronaut or a doctor or an Army man or something, G.I. Joe. And out of high school, 9/11 really was weighing on my mind. We were, embroiled in these two wars. But I went to community college. My family wasn't really like, yeah, go join, in the middle of a war. So I decided I wanted to be a cop, because Army man, cop, same thing, to my high schooler mind. I was like, oh, well, I can just join the police force, right? So I went to community college, started doing my substantive criminal justice courses, and I exploded in terms of weight and just laziness. And, I was disappointed with myself, but really disappointed because I was disappointing my family. Like, we lived 30 minutes from the community college. And as a small town Illinois, college, it was like, oh, I don't need to show up to my 8 a.m. class. So I was missing class all the time. I was not taking my studies seriously. And that's what really spurred me joining the Marine Corps. Was I went to see a recruiter and I was like, hey, I don't like where I'm at. I went to the Army first, and they said, okay, well, we're in the middle of a war, so yeah, we'll take you. Lose a little bit of weight, blah blah blah. I was going to join as their chief warrant officer program, fly some helicopters, get $6,000 signing bonus. I was super stoked. But then the Marine Corps recruiter across the little plaza snatched me up on my way out of the Army office. And so I entertained him, and, the machismo and the pride that Marines have. I was like, oh, I like this. I'm a 20-year-old college kid. I'm like, no, this he's pretty badass, So I asked, well, how much money will you give me to become a Marine? And he says, oh, no, we don't give bonuses. The only bonus you get is the opportunity to become a Marine. And, as cheesy as it sounds, that sold it for me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to be this guy. And then, I chose the infantry because I truthfully believe that if you're going to do something, you give it your 100%, you do it all. And so to me, in my mind, I was like, Marines are, they're door kickers. They're badasses. And so that's what I wanted to do. Joined up. It was 2006. Went through boot camp, School of Infantry out here, San Diego and Camp Pendleton. And then almost immediately was sent to Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment up there on Camp Pendleton. More the north side of the base up near San Clemente. And then deployed, I think it was late 2006, early 2007 to Ramadi, Iraq for my first tour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I can kind of understand your wanting to, how the Marine got you, the Marine Corps got you, because when I see them, I think they're pretty badass as well. I mean, they are, but I also grew up I wanted to be Army, and that's all I knew. And it wasn't until that I was like, man, Marines are pretty cool. And my father-in-law's a Marine, so I guess.
Well, then you're very familiar with the pride and the arrogance that we carry. Even now, being a little bit older, a little bit rounder, we're still some of the most cocky people you'll meet. But it's I wouldn't have traded anything in the Marine Corps to do it differently, I guess. After my deployment to Iraq, we had a bit of a lull, another training cycle. Then we deployed on the USS Dubuque. It was the 15th MEU. And by the time I got back from that, I only had about 6 months left. I had already met my beautiful, amazing Peruvian wife here in San Diego, and we were expecting a child. So I sought work that was a bit less dangerous by leaving. And then I was fortunate enough to land a position at the Social Security Administration, where I spent almost the next decade, getting beneficiaries their access to their retirement and disability and all the good stuff that comes with Social Security.
Oh, wow. So how long did you serve again with the Marines?
Just 4 years.
Okay. Hey, 4 years. Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit, and we'll say just 4 years, just 10 years. I think the fact that we served at all is such a huge accomplishment. So I mean, I thank you for your service, because not everybody can go and do that.
No, Annette, you're 100% right. And I say it like that because even though I'm an extremely proud veteran, and it does inform a lot of who I am today, 4 years compared to someone who's had a career of 20 or 30 or so, I don't mean to diminish my service, but, there are other people that make it a career. No. In 4 years, I had already done 2 combat tours. I had already, lost dozens of friends. And, honestly, it was like, be married, have children, or potentially deploy. The next deployment was to Afghanistan. And it was like, do I want to take that chance, not coming home to be with my brand new, newborn baby? And for a long time, I know we're going to talk about some mental health stuff. It really ate at me for years getting out. We had a couple of guys lost in Afghanistan when they deployed. Some others extremely injured, lost a couple legs, one severe head trauma. And I felt almost guilty getting out and letting them go and experience that alone. But now, I'm older. I am dealing with my mental health a lot better now. So I feel less guilt, but it still gnaws at me occasionally that, hey, if I was there, maybe I could have helped. Yeah. And I think that's something all people in the service with kind of our brotherhood, whether you're Army or Navy or Air Force or Coast Guard even, we have that camaraderie and that brotherhood that's established where you don't want to see anything happen to anybody. I'm happy with the way my life turned out, obviously, but occasionally that does gnaw on me.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you going back to the not diminishing part. I completely agree. I understand, because I think we're just so used to just saying that word, but I feel the same way sometimes. Even though I did 17 years, sometimes I feel like, well, gosh, all my other peers are doing 20, and they were able to do all these other, have these other jobs and all that. So I kind of feel guilty as well. Like, well, I didn't spend that much time, and how come I couldn't do it? So it's just. 17
years is a lifetime. Congratulations.
No, I appreciate that. It is, but I think, yeah, we do kind of feel guilty for a lot of things. It's hard because you spend that time with this family of yours, whether it's overseas or in your unit, so you kind of feel like the what ifs or what, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And so you felt guilty, but life's a lot different now. And so how did you get into the field that you're in now? What made you want to do that?
Yeah. Well, that's another wild ride, pun intended. It was maybe the 8th or 9th year at Social Security. So here I am, 12, 13 years into a federal government career. In 8 years, I can secure this glorious pension, great job security. And a few different things happened. One, we had a second child, my wife and I. Pardon me. We had a second child, and being here in San Diego is expensive enough. But then having 2 children, having to pay for childcare while both parents are working, it was like one of us was just working to pay childcare, essentially. And my wife is a nurse here in San Diego, so we get wonderful, health insurance through her. And so if one of us was going to quit our job, it was going to be me. We were bucking the gender norms of mom needs to stay home with the kids, and it became dad. Justin has to stay home with the kids. And I was okay with that because really I was kind of I started out at Social Security absolutely loving my job. San Diego has, I believe it's the second highest population of Middle Eastern and Northern African refugees and asylees here. And so I worked out in the El Cajon area, which is East County of San Diego, and filled with Chaldean refugees and just a lot of, a majority Chaldean, some Muslim faith as well. But I was able to kind of re-immerse myself in that culture and use some of that Arabic that I had started to lose. And it was awesome. The relationships that I built with the people that I worked there with and for the public was amazing. But there was a change maybe, year 6 or so into the job where it was less about beneficiaries and more about quotas. So now all of a sudden we were being timed and how long we spent with somebody, how long, how many cases did we close, and it just became like a mill shop. It was like boom, 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 and less about relationships and caring. So I was already jaded, and so I jumped at the opportunity to leave. But all the power in the world to stay-at-home parents, I lost my mind about 6 months staying home with these girls of sheer boredom. I didn't know what to do. I had joined a bunch of various, veterans groups and whatnot. And some people were like, hey, why don't you try your own thing? You love design. You do all these cool artworks and graphic design, and you're a great editor. Make a t-shirt shop, like 99% of other veterans out there, right? And so that was the very first iteration of Szerletich Design Solutions, which I shortened to SZERDS, was an apparel and promotional product design company. So I would design products and give them to, other brands that needed apparel printed, or some conventions like MIC. I'm not sure if you're familiar, Military Influencer Conference. We did a challenge coin for them. Was it last year, 2019 or 2018? We designed a coin. Our good friends at Pitch and Rudder actually printed it for us. And after that, there were several iterations of Szerletich Design Solutions, but that is essentially my path to starting that business.
Wow. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, yeah, it's funny because, a lot of veterans start your own t-shirt.
Everybody's got a t-shirt shop.
But hey, that's just the beginning to bigger things. So
mm-hmm.
How did you even get clients like ESPN and the Business Doctor TV show? How did you get yourself?
Oh, yeah. So I know I just said there were multiple iterations of Szerletich Design Solutions. So some of the, it wasn't a smooth road. Like we said, there are, a dime a dozen veteran apparel companies and veteran designers. A lot of my business was coming directly from veteran entrepreneurship groups. So I was just networking with other entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and saying, hey, I can offer these services, blah, blah, blah. And that didn't always pay the bills. There was, probably a good stretch of 10 to 12 months where I was making barely enough to pay my bills, and even some months having to dip into family funds that I didn't want to dip into to stay afloat. So we quickly adapted what was just a generic promotional, a promotional product printing and design company turned into a luxury gifting, so that I could target higher price clients, right? Well, then came marketing and advertisement spend and, really the hustle of finding those clients. And as a solopreneur, that was extremely difficult. So another pivot was needed. So we evolved again to saying, okay, we're foregoing all physical products. We are just a design agency. So I networked with a couple one copywriter who's actually with us now at my current position, and another social media guy, and we turned it into just a digital design agency. So we didn't do any more printing. We would just design the stuff for you. And, you paid us an hourly rate to do design work, build a website, manage your social media, whatever you want. And that was probably the biggest move we could have made, because immediately we went from having machinery and equipment costs and labor costs and marketing, et cetera, to just having essentially paying us. All we needed to buy was some software and pay ourselves for our time. Immediately became profitable, was able to scale and grow fairly quickly because of past connections. And now, and that's essentially where SZERDS is right now. We're still a digital marketing firm. But I know you and I talked a little bit before the show. I recently did accept a position at Knucklehead Media Group, which was as their director of content strategy. And Knucklehead Media Group is a podcasting organization. They build podcasts for corporations, brands, individuals to kind of bring that human voice and that authenticity to the brand. And they had been a client of SZERDS for a while. Stephen Colon, the CEO over there, was a great friend, and he offered me the position to come in and kind of do what SZERDS is doing for our clients, for Knucklehead's clients. And I'm happy to say that it's gone so well, and we've scaled so much that they're buying us out. SZERDS will cease to operate independently here in the coming weeks, and we will all be Knucklehead Media Group now. And that includes the contractors that are working with me currently. Daniel Vu was my copywriting guy, and he's been hired by Knucklehead as well as the I forget what the title is, but he's our lead copywriter essentially there. He manages all of our writers. I manage all of our producers and editors and content creators, and we're crushing it over there.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super stoked. Nobody knows about this yet. So if you're listening to this and you heard that, go check our Facebook or go to our LinkedIn, go to knucklehead.agency. There's probably going to be some article up there that says, hey, we just did this thing. And that's what it is.
How did you, going through all these changes as an entrepreneur, a new dad, how did you keep focused and keep positive? Because I know that, well, with me, especially when I didn't even know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It just happened. But
yeah.
Started, it was like, imposter syndrome kicked in, the fear of failure and the fear of not making a difference, and how do I make myself different from everybody else? How did you keep positive going through all the changes?
Well, that's a great question, because it's kind of a two-part answer. Number one, I didn't keep positive. My mental health was absolutely destroyed. Even prior to becoming an entrepreneur, I just wasn't taking care of myself, and I hadn't addressed lingering issues from my time in the Marine Corps and my time, so all of those things kind of came together all at once, going through all of these stressful iterations of the business and not making money and such. What really helped me was, and you had mentioned it earlier, ESPN. So in the middle of this, I think we were still a strategic gifting company at the time. I had met a couple of guys, one of them being Bob Ryan, who ran a show, Biz Talk Radio, on ESPN here in San Diego. And he said, hey, we really like your company. I love the idea, relationship management and client relations and the strategic gifting stuff is cutting edge. Why don't you come talk to us about it? So it was the first time I ever done any type of public facing, like speaking. I went and I appeared on the show. They had me back a couple times and they loved me so much. They were like, why don't you just come in and guest host for us occasionally? And we'll build your own little segment around veteran businesses because there's 1 million of us here in San Diego. And man, I took advantage of that. I jumped on it. I loved it. It was the first time that I felt really like energized and happy. I was like, man, because believe me, I have the face for radio. Okay. You don't want to see me on TV, but radio was fine. That went until October of that year or so, until ESPN Radio here in San Diego finally said, you know what, we're going to go back to sports, less business. So that closed down, but that really got me into like media, traditional media, and where I really felt happy. So what was a generic strategic gifting company turned into this digital marketing company that hyper focused on content creation for radio, television, and podcasting. And that's kind of where Knucklehead and SZERDS came together was, hey, you're already creating this content for podcasting organizations. Why don't you come do it for us? But going back to the actual struggles, I didn't take it well. I'm sure, as you know, money causes stress in relationships all the time. There were months where my wife's like, listen, dude, you got to go get a job, right? If you're going to stay home and be with the girls, that's fine. But while the girls are at school, you need to go make some money because now we're spending money on your hobby, essentially trying to be this entrepreneur, right? We didn't have like breakdown divorce fights or anything, but she made it very clear, as Latinas and Peruvians will, that, hey, Buster, you got to go make some money. Again, I couldn't have done this without her because what I really needed was, hey, get yourself in check, go take care of your mental health, focus, get on track, do things that make sense and make us money. And she stood beside me the entire time. Absolutely amazing woman. Lesser women would have just kicked me to the curb immediately and been like, no way. See you later, bub.
I love hearing, oh my gosh. I laughed so hard when you talked about Peruvians and Latinos because, yeah, we tend to have that no filter, straight to the point. You need to hear kind of.
It's passion.
And so how did you end up working on those struggles that you never addressed before? Because I know some of us veterans, we're very hard-headed and stubborn, and we think that we could continue on by just pretending it didn't happen or just throwing it back, just blacking it out and putting ourselves all into our work thinking it's going to go away. Did you get to a point where you knew that I need to fix this?
I did. So in the middle of all of those fights and struggles, and sorry, this isn't something I talk about ever. I wanted to kill myself probably weekly, and I don't say that like in jest. I mean, like literally I had, like, man, I just, I don't want to be here. And after I had finally, because you just ignore it and you're just like, whatever, stop being a baby, blah, blah, blah. And we push it deeper into our minds, especially us Marine Corps infantry guys were just like, whatever, it doesn't happen. Super. My wife, again, Francie, finally said, like, stop talking like that. Like, don't, you have 2 girls, you have me, blah, blah, blah. Go talk to somebody. So I did. I finally went and applied for veterans benefits, who then recommended that I go see someone at the Veterans Center here in San Diego. Lovely, lovely people over at Liberty Station. And I had been there doing therapy for 2 years now. And it's not something you broadcast on social media, or I don't put it in my bio that I'm actively in therapy. But I tell you, there are still days and there's still times where those thoughts creep in your head like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, why am I here? Why are my buddies not? Why aren't I making more money? Like, I'm a failure. Am I a good dad? Am I a good husband? And speaking to someone, especially, a licensed therapist, not just your buddy over a beer, although that is effective occasionally as well, has made all the difference.
Gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. I apologize. I know it's so hard to talk about stuff like that, especially when you're sharing it with all the listeners.
Well, I used to be, I don't want to say ashamed or embarrassed, but it's, it's deeply personal, and you don't want people to think you're some, quote unquote crazy guy or something. But if by me vocalizing, one, it's good just to get it off your chest. Two, if somebody hears that and says, wow, this guy, went through these struggles and legitimately thought about ending his life multiple times and is still struggling with these issues, if that can just touch one person and get them to say, hey, honey, or hey, therapist, or hey, buddy, and just talk to somebody and do, really get it off of your chest and have a good cry or whatever you need to get right. It's there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's freeing. It really is. Again, we were joking about the passion of Peruvians and Latinas, but man, my wife's passion makes me hungry for life. And I could never have left my girls alone in this world. I could have never left my wife. My wife would have killed me. If I would have killed myself, she would have, resurrected me and killed me again for being an idiot. And just being with her and being with my daughters, it just makes me hungry for life. And I want to be here. And I want to continue to be successful. I want to continue to be in their lives and make them amazing people, which they already are. They're amazing little human beings already. It's amazing how quickly they grow and get these personalities. Sorry, I'm rambling to avoid answering more. But yes, so that was a major struggle for me and something I continue to struggle with occasionally.
Well, I'm not going to ask you anymore.
No, you're good. I'm just joking, but yeah.
You bring up so many just great points because I was that one that was ashamed. I was embarrassed. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to tell anybody because, you're seen as a leader and you don't want to be seen as weak, especially as a female, but even as a male. And so I know that from my own experience, I've spoken to a lot of males that for those reasons didn't want to say anything because there's mm-hmm. be that tough guy. So I know you're going to help someone else listening to this. I know you are. And I appreciate that you really shared such a personal, feeling that you have gone through. So but this is exactly why I feel this is why I love to speak to people like you and share these stories, because there are so many people out there that need to listen to and hear from Justin, a Marine Corps infantry vet who's now has his own business and has a family, that he has made it through these struggles and he is finding life. And, so I absolutely appreciate you sharing any and all of this, because it's such a
thank you I appreciate you giving us a platform to do this, because this isn't, there's not many podcasts that I could go and appear on or have a relationship with where we even talk about these things. Yeah. We're, as entrepreneurs especially, we're hyper focused on work and business, but really these issues, there are a million different veterans organizations for people to seek assistance with, and it's hard to navigate and kind of weed through which ones are the right fit for you. So something else that I like to talk about when I do get the chance is people do this in general, but veterans especially, we kind of segregate ourselves from the general population. We like to congregate together, whether it be on social media or in our clubs and whatnot. And that's not helpful to integration, especially transitioning back into just being your average normal citizen guy, right? So I something that's helped me is to kind of drop the burly Marine Corps veteran shell, stop segregating myself into these groups and just rejoin, public life. Don't keep yourself hidden away. Don't think that your problems are not worthy of talking about, or not, there's nobody else out there that could possibly understand what you're going through, because even if they're not a veteran, there are people out there having these same thoughts and these same issues, and there are places for you to go talk and get help and medication if you need it. And I think it's getting through that shell, that burly veteran exterior that all of us kind of have upon transitioning out of, whether it's the Marine Corps or the Army or any other service. That's the first step. It's kind of recognizing that you don't need to segregate yourself or your problems from help. There's help there.
Thank you for saying those things, because there are people that need to hear that. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, don't segregate yourself, because there are people out there that are going through it. We just need to, I guess they're just waiting for one of us to step up and say, I'm that person. I totally understand and I feel it. And so how do you, as a dad, as a husband, as a burly Marine guy, how do you find the time to have self-care and just me time? What do you do, and what advice can you give to those men who are like, nah, I don't need that?
Well, it's incredibly difficult to find, me time solo, especially having 2 young children. So really my me time and that self-care time is the time that I'm able to mentally and legitimately block off, an hour, 2 hours, whether it's at night or in the morning or over the weekend, where I just say, listen, I'm not working. One, like, I am off. I know as entrepreneurs, especially young startups or just people just breaking into business, it's like you're working 24 hours a day. That the burnout is real. Like, being an entrepreneur is lonely and hard enough. And then working 24 hours a day is you're going to harm yourself mentally and potentially physically if you're not eating and sleeping right. So it's important. What I do is to just block off, whether it's 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, a whole day on the weekend, where it's like, nope, I'm not working. This is me time, which means, I'm spending time with my girls. We're going to the zoo, not necessarily right now. Thank you, pandemic. But it's just intentionally blocking off that time and forcing yourself to adhere to that schedule.
No,
and I'm sorry, that's kind of a generic answer, but that's what I do. Is you have to force yourself, because as an entrepreneur, if you don't force yourself and say, no, Justin, you are going to do this, you'll just work the whole day. And, that again leads to strained relationships within your family unit, mental health issues, sleeping, etc. And that's not, you can't do that forever.
No, you're so right. And I didn't block off time before. It was Monday through Friday, and I would take a call whenever with whomever, and it was like, because I just wanted them to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, I was trying to be successful, but I had to realize I'm only doing podcasting on Mondays and Fridays. I'm only doing editing Tuesdays and Thursdays, whatever the case is. I had to block off time, and I had to make time to get up from the computer and go eat or drink or spend time or call, talk to my daughter who calls me in the middle of podcasts. But, it's just, it's little things like that we have to remember, that we need to, whatever our me time is, with kids or not, we need it. We need to do it. It's okay to do that, because I used to feel guilty. Like, oh no, I have to work 8 hours today, because if I don't, then I won't get it done. Well,
you make an incredibly good point that a lot of people don't talk about, is that as an entrepreneur, you are so worried about, where that next sale is going to come from, or where that next service buy, or so you're willing to just sacrifice all of your time to get your business launched, or get your business scaling, or just growing and sustainable, that you allow people to almost take advantage or walk over you and not respect boundaries, especially if you haven't vocalized or put up any boundaries. Where like you, I used to take phone calls. It'd be like midnight, or I'd have clients on the East Coast that wanted to have a 7 a.m. phone call, and I'm like, well, I'm in San Diego. That's 4 a.m. for me. Well, you know what? I don't want to miss out on this sale. I better do it. One, it's not good for you. And two, I think other people, prospective clients and other business people may even, have a little more respect for you as a business owner if you're able to vocalize those boundaries and say, hey, John, actually, that's 4 a.m. for me. I'm not available until 8 on Mondays, so let's push it back to then. It gives you even a little bit more of a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not authenticity, but credibility, as a business owner. You're not so much looked at as, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Look at him. He's willing to take a 4 a.m. phone call. Or this guy's up at midnight, responding to my emails. You as an entrepreneur are thinking, no, that shows that I'm all about the hustle. I'm working all day long. But in reality, you're telling your clients that you can just be walked all over. Yeah. And you're willing to jump for the dollar. You don't want to do that. You want to establish yourself with some credibility, some authenticity, some integrity. And vocalize those boundaries for your own health, but also just, to be seen as a legitimate business person.
Yes, no, you're so right. You're so right. It's okay to have that calendar link and set your...
Yeah.
I never had that. I was always responding to an email. Now I'm like, no, I need something or I'm going to go crazy. So it's okay, you guys. It's okay to set boundaries and have time blocks. You don't have to work all day, every day. You're going to go crazy. And who is it for? Because at the end of the day, are you happy with the product that you have pushed out, or are you exhausted and you don't want to do it anymore? And that's where you have to find your why. Like, why am I doing this? Is it for this or is it for this? So yeah, no, it's absolutely. Oh, so, well, no, thank you, Justin, so much for being on here, for sharing such personal, your personal story, and for just showing the world that it's, we all have our struggles, but as long as you can say, hey, I might need some help, that it's okay to ask for help. It's totally okay.
It is.
You are, and then be successful at what you want to do later on. So it's amazing.
Yeah, another cliche thing about happiness that everyone says, but is really the truth, is like, you're passionate about your business. And so I'm sure you love your business, and doing something that you love doesn't feel like work. So now that I've finally found what I love doing, which is the, the content creation, the video and graphics, and even CGI and VFX work that I get to do on some of these content pieces that we produce, I don't even feel like I'm working half the time. But if I didn't ask for help and make if I didn't make myself right, I wouldn't be able to feel that, and I wouldn't be enjoying this ride that I'm on right now. I would still be battling myself. Now, I am still battling myself occasionally, but because I have the tools and the capability to make myself well and to care for myself, it just makes it a journey worth experiencing. And I love it. And you will love it too. Don't segregate yourself. Don't isolate. Don't pretend like your problems are not worthy. Just ask for help. Ask me, ask Annette, ask somebody around you. And we're here for you.
No, I love that. I also love, and I always try to tell people it's okay if you're having that off day, because not every day is going to be happy. We've gone and sought, therapy or whatever. We're still going to have those days, and it's okay. It's okay to have those days. Walk away. If you're just not feeling it, walk away and come back again later, or come back again tomorrow. It's totally okay to do that.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, Annette. This was amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're such an inspiration, and I'm so happy for you, like truly happy of everything that you have accomplished. And even, sometimes we just appreciate what we've gone through, because with me, I know that I have used this mantra, my mess is my message. And so now I'm not happy that what I went through in my life, but I'm glad that I'm here to be able to share it with other people to help. And I think that, I'm so grateful that you are still here to do the same, because I know it's been hard. It is so hard to get through things like this, but thank you
Yeah.
for being you. And thank you.
Thank you. I'll leave you with this. What you just mentioned, I had actually just conducted an interview with the San Diego Voyager, and they asked a very similar question about, hey, obviously entrepreneurship's not a smooth road. What are some troubles that you've been through, and what would you change? What would you, if you could go back and tell yourself, what would you do? And to your point, I agree with you. I'm not sure that I would change anything. I mean, it hasn't been rainbows and unicorns and, a pot of gold waiting at the end or anything like that. But the experiences that we've lived, the troubles and the good times and everything in between, has made us what we are today. And I don't know, I don't know what Szerletich Design Solutions would look like without some of the things we went through. I don't know what my relationships with my wife and my family would look like if I didn't go through some of these things. And so I wouldn't go back and change the journey. Yeah, I may want to ease the pain a little bit.
Yes.
But I am, I am a conglomeration of all of my lived experiences, and I don't want to change that. I like who I am.
I love that. I'm so proud of you. This is awesome. Where can people find you to find all this amazing work that you do?
Well, I love hanging out on Twitter right now, so it's at Just Szerletich. When I see the episode come up, I'll make sure to link it and come and say hi to everybody. But also, you can just find Knucklehead Media Group by going to knucklehead.agency or go to our LinkedIn page. We love posting almost daily on LinkedIn, sharing some of the podcasts that we're producing, sharing guests of our own podcast, Knucklehead Podcast, and if you'd like to reach out to me directly, whether it's business related or just, hey, Justin, I loved hearing your story. It's just Justin at knucklehead.agency. I'm always available. Well, I say that, but when I see your email, I will respond in a reasonable time. Just give me drop me a line, make a comment, whatever you need to. I'll be happy to engage and network with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited for this. And please say hello to your wife. I can't wait to meet her one day. And you just have a great weekend. Enjoy those girls.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Thank you for listening to the Truths We Hide podcast, created and founded by your host, Annette, the founder of A Wild Ride Call Life. Also, a big thank you to all of our sponsors for each and every episode that is aired. We have so much support from them and all of our listeners. You can find more information at www.awildridecalllife.com.